The United Nations state that the right to free and compulsory education is viewed by many as one of the most fundamental of all human rights.
Western influence controls much of the education in today's society, whether it is through aid or conflict.
Hierarchy structures in Western countries demand that action must be taken in war-affected areas. Afghanistan, in 2001, became the hotbed for political agendas.
Money was driven into Afghanistan as America and Britain began to seize control of the state. However, was there an alternative motive?
Several media stations and newspapers note that America see it as a God-given right to influence and help countries they deem in need of the great power.
But does this really matter if the West pick and choose what countries they help? If America and Britain were going to produce new schools and strive for education for all Afghans, is it relevant to be concerned about the ulterior motives?
The Western media portrayed the notion that they were solving the crisis in the Middle East, not causing more mayhem by their heavy-handed approach to other cultures.
Research suggests America never appeared to offer aid without some form of gain for themselves. Several media stations claimed America only went to Afghanistan to gain control of their vast amount of crude oil, not to overthrow the Taliban rebels.
America, who themselves proclaimed to be the founders of freedom and free will, often appeared to deny those with differing views the freedom to express.
Often we take for granted how privileged we are in the West. Afghanistan is one of the most dangerous places to grow up on Earth, with 1 in 7 children not living to see their 5th birthday.
This table shows a devastating comparison between the Middle East compared to the UK, where only 1 in 200 children fail to see their 5th birthday.
This creates a domino effect, leading to adult literacy rates being as low as 39% for over 15-year-olds. This contrasts to England, where the adult literacy rate is 84% for over 15-year-olds.
In Afghanistan, there are 2 education systems, one of which is taught by the mullahs, which is religious teaching, and the other, which is state education. However, Western democracy began to influence this long before the invasion of Afghanistan in 2003, when in the late 80s, America's involvement began to eradicate the mullah schools.
In 2011, Afghanistan were given a grant to improve their education system. However, no guidelines were set to state who got the majority funding. Although UNICEF built cost-effective schools in rural areas for 148,000 children in Afghanistan.
Moreover, conflict and unrest has severely halted the improvement and development of the education system. Since the West's involvement during the invasions, more and more schools have been attacked by the Taliban.
Under the Taliban rule, only 1 million children were attending school. However, since Western involvement, there are now over 10 million children attending school in Afghanistan.
Although 10 million children are now in school, 1 in 3 still have no access to education.
This is in spite of funding from the USA, which is helping to train 74,000 teachers for Afghan schools.
America's funding has also further helped provide education for an additional 1 million children who otherwise would not have this.
However, with America having such a strong influence in Afghan schools, does this mean that Afghan schools will adopt a Western culture?
Due to the West's involvement and their belief that education should be for all boys and girls, this is one of the main reasons the Taliban repeatedly attack schools as girls become more educated.
Due to this, Afghanistan is one of the worst affected countries by violence against schools, with 670 incidents of attacks on schools in 2008 alone.
This violence has contributed towards nearly 2 million students living in refugee camps.
Due to these horrific conditions, in 2011, UNICEF provided 2.6 million teaching aids in order to improve education for all young people in Afghanistan.
UNICEF further tried to improve the education system in Afghanistan by creating child-friendly schools through the WASH program. WASH stands for Water, Sanitation and Hygiene. This aimed to promote health and well-being.
In Afghanistan, classroom sizes average 50 pupils to one teacher, whereas in the UK there are 27 pupils to every teacher. This suggests that pupils in the UK are offered far more support from their teachers.
To compound the issue further, 80% of the 165,000 teaching in Afghanistan only have a high school education, whereas in the United Kingdom, the majority have a degree level education.
Since 2002, the profile of education in Afghanistan has changed. There has been significant expansion of all levels and types of education, increased access and educational opportunities for all Afghans, especially girls and women, and participation of the private sector in educational development. The international community has contributed in these achievements. While there have been significant developments, the quality and efficiency of education continues to be a challenge for national authorities. There has been no significant improvement in the rate of literacy, with the rate being 26% for 15-year-olds and over in 2009. It is unlikely that compulsory basic education for boys and girls aged 7 to 12 will be achieved before 2020. Without a strong political will and an effective national campaign for literacy and adequate resources, substantial improvement in the rate of adult literacy, especially for women, seems unlikely to happen in the near future.
The political, social, cultural and security situation have impacted on the development of education in Afghanistan. In some parts of the country, development of education has been restricted due to insecurity. Several hundred schools for girls have been destroyed or closed by extremists, especially in the south of the country. The religious, ideological and ethnic differences in Afghanistan society have also influenced and sometimes disturbed the progress and functioning of the education system. Afghanistan is going through a period of political reform and social and economic changes which have a profound impact on the future of Afghan society. The progress of education in Afghanistan will depend on security, good governance, relevant and imaginative strategies, adequate financial resources, and continued support of the international community. There is a strong and growing demand for modern education and training for boys and girls in Afghanistan. The aspiration of the majority of Afghan people is for a better life, especially for their children, democracy and respect for human rights, justice, peace and security in the country and region.
13 years, $800 billion, 80,000 Afghan civilians dead. Was it all worth it?